And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Aaron Friend, who writes, "Hey, John. So the Scarlett Johansson situation with Disney continues to get weirder and weirder. In an article in Variety, they confirmed that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got to renegotiate his compensation package for Jungle Cruise when they decided to put Jungle Cruise on Disney Plus Premier Access. But Scarlett Johansson's lawyers say that when they tried repeatedly to get Disney to make new arrangements before putting Black Widow on Disney Plus, Disney completely ignored her and them. Why the double standard, and does this prove Scarlett's case?" All right, thanks a lot for writing that in, Aaron. And this whole situation with Scarlett Johansson continues to be fascinating. And it just got ramped up even more. I think a lawyer, one of Disney's lawyers just came out and called Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit just a big publicity stunt because, you know, little obscure Scarlett Johansson, nobody knows who she is. She needs all the publicity she can get. But, you know, obviously, just to give you guys a quick Coles notes on this, you know, Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for the fact that by putting Black Widow up on Disney Plus, it violated their contract, it violated their agreement that it was going to be a theatrical exclusive, and by putting it up on Disney Plus, it affected the box office, and her salary was directly connected to the box office, so they deliberately ripped her off. That's what her lawsuit is claiming. And it's gotten ugly. It's gotten ugly. I mean, I said before, business is business, so they'll get through this business dispute, and then they'll probably work together again in the future. But guys, this thing has seemed to have gotten so personal now. I don't know that I can ever see these guys working together. I don't think she's ever going to want to work with Disney again. I don't know that Disney's ever going to work with her again. I mean, not as long as Bob Chapek is the CEO at any point. But where this has taken a really interesting turn is an article that just came out. I believe it was on Deadline, talking about it was in Variety, talking about, because a lot of people asked, well, how come Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson seems perfectly fine? They put Jungle Cruise on Disney Plus Premium Access, and you don't see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson complaining, do you? Well, now we know why. Let's take a look at this for a second here, shall we? So let's go back first to July, when the whole lawsuit thing first started getting filed, okay? This was in Deadline on July 29th. The lawsuit contends that both parties understood that by a theatrical release, it meant that it would initially be released exclusively in movie theaters and that it would remain exclusively in movie theaters for a period of between approximately 90 and 120 days, the industry standard in 2019 when Johansson's agreement was finalized. This is the key part, though. Listen to this. When Johansson's representatives attempted to negotiate with Marvel after the day and date plans for Black Widow were announced, their efforts were ignored, according to the lawsuit. Listen to that again. Their efforts were ignored, according to the lawsuit. So basically this, when Disney said, we're going to release Black Widow on Disney Plus Premium Access, Scarlett Johansson's lawyers reached out to Disney and say, okay, well, let's rework the agreement then, because this is different from what our contract is. So let's come to the table and let's renegotiate a new agreement. And according to Scarlett Johansson's lawyers, Disney just went, mwah, no, we're not talking to you. No, they're saying they were completely ignored. All right. Well, that's how Disney's playing this. Disney is thinking, no, we don't need to read. Our agreement with you is perfectly fine. We don't need to renegotiate the deal. Our deal with you is completely fine, and we're not violating our contract. Okay. Well, apparently that's not the case, because then in Variety yesterday, we got this. That was a sticking point for Scarlett Johansson, who claims that the simultaneous release of Black Widow depressed ticket sales. But it was a conflict that Disney is believed to have avoided with the Jungle Cruise star Dwayne Johnson by changing his compensation structure when the film also bowed on the streaming service at the same time as it debuted in theaters. Listen to this again. The Jungle Cruise star Dwayne Johnson, by changing his compensation structure, they changed his deal. when they decided they were going to put Jungle Cruise bowing on the streaming service Disney Plus at the same time that it debuted in theaters. So Disney is saying, oh yeah, Dwayne, yeah. It was never the plan to put Jungle Cruise on Disney Plus, so clearly we'll renegotiate your deal. We'll rework your compensation package, obviously, because we've changed the deal. So we'll renegotiate with you. But when Scarlett Johansson tried to reach out to Disney saying, hey, you just stabbed me in the back. This was never part of the deal. Let's renegotiate my contract. Let's renegotiate my compensation package. Going down to the last line there, their efforts were ignored. Dwayne Johnson, oh, we'll renegotiate his compensation structure because now it's different. Disney admits when it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, oh yeah, now it's different. We've changed things. It's different now than what the contract was. So let's renegotiate your compensation package, right? Sure. But when it's Scarlett Johansson, they just ignored her. To me, and listen, with every one of these types of things, guys, there's a million fine details that we probably don't know about. So let's acknowledge that right up front. There are a million fine details that we probably don't know about. And all we are gauging on right now is what information is available to us at the moment. And like rational human beings, as new information becomes available, we can change our viewpoint. But for now, with the information that is available to us at this moment, by changing Dwayne Johnson's agreement and changing his compensation package as a result of moving Jungle Cruise from a theatrical-only movie to a Disney Plus Premium Access release, in my eyes, Disney has just admitted we would have been violating your contract. By changing Dwayne Johnson's deal, Disney is admitting we're violating the original contract, so we have to make an arrangement with you. But they did not extend such a courtesy to Scarlett Johansson, even though they did the exact same thing. They moved her movie that was understood to be a theatrical exclusive only movie, and her salary was tied to that. And when her lawyers reached out to Disney to say, hey, let's renegotiate the deal, Disney just ignored her. According to the information we have, for all we know, Scarlett Johansson's lawyers are complete liars, but we have no reason. So let's just assume what they're saying is true for now. Does this represent a little bit of a double standard? Yes and no. I mean, on the no side, you could make the argument, hey, listen, as big of a star as Scarlett Johansson is, she is not the de facto biggest movie star in the world. Dwayne Johnson is. For Dwayne Johnson, unlike a Paul Rudd or a Scarlett Johansson or somebody else, yeah, we'll make a special accommodation for the guy who is the most, if any movie star is quote unquote bankable today, it's probably him. We made a special accommodation for him. I could see that argument being made. It's not the craziest argument to make. But on a level playing field, when you say to Scarlett Johansson, we don't need to renegotiate your contract because we're not actually violating the contract. But then with Dwayne Johnson, we go, oh, yeah, we need to renegotiate your contract. When this exact same situation, listen, it screams double standard to me. It absolutely screams double standard. Anyway, Rob, you take a look at this. They ignored Scarlett Johansson's request for renegotiation, but they gave it to Dwayne Johnson. What's your first impressions of this? What's your take on it?
Well, here's what I would imagine happened. And again, I have no inside knowledge. I would just assume. I think they figured since Black Widow was a Marvel movie, and judging by the performance of Marvel movies, they weren't really worried about it. You know, they kind of shined Scarlett Johansson on, thinking, you know, don't, come on, little lady, it'll be fine. It's a Marvel movie. But with Jungle Cruise, if you look at Dwayne Johnson's past box office performance, they probably looked at the fact that when they decided to release Jungle Cruise, it would make substantially less at the box office, especially from his other movies that he'd made. So for him, they're like, listen, we know that Jungle Cruise is not going to make 500 million or 600 million. They probably looked at their projections and they figured they would head off a problem at the pass. And they just assumed Black Widow, there'd be no problem there because Scarlett Johansson's been part of the family, so she's not going to say anything. But Dwayne Johnson was different. And then when she did say something, and her people, let's face it, her people did. And by the way, what people have to understand is Scarlett Johansson is not saying, she's not demanding anything she's not due. She was contractually guaranteed what she's asking for. And when she brought up, hey, every single Marvel movie before this, there's no ambiguity here. We talked about this before, John. You took everybody to the Campea classroom about this. We went through the legal precedents. They acted on reliance. You explained it pretty well, I thought, on this show, that the contract she signed was the contract like anybody had signed, where there was an expectation when she signed this. Of course, nobody thought there was going to be a release on Disney Plus concurrent with the movie. So that idea, the contract she signed it in good faith, and what she's asking for is what she deserves. It doesn't matter how much money it is. So don't sit there and go, oh, the rich elite get all. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What Scarlett Johansson is owed is what she signed a contract for, and that's the expectation. And what she's asking for is only what she rightfully deserves to get. And for doing this with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they obviously crunched the numbers, and they knew that he would probably be very disappointed by the box office projections based on what Jungle Cruise would have made in a non-pandemic environment versus what it was going to make in a pandemic environment. They're like, yeah, he's the biggest movie star in the world. Perhaps we should talk to him. And I think that there's, like you said, it's a double standard. It's something that shouldn't have happened. And the fact that they did it doesn't really bode well for Disney's case. I mean, I would think the person that you'd want to keep happy is Scarlett Johansson, but I guess they figured, well, she's already dead. We'll show her the door. She's lucky she got a movie at all. And I think that kind of thinking is what led to this. And if Scarlett Johansson's people really did reach out and Disney shined her on, well, I don't think they have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, it's not great. Anyway, Aaron, you hear about this. What's your take on it?
I mean, the second that I read it, I was like, obviously, there's no surprise here at all. Oh my God, sexism in Hollywood, that's such a shocking thing. I mean, as we saw from the Sony hack years ago and all those emails between executives, including female executives, who specifically said, when it came to the American Hustle contract negotiations, where a female executive, who I won't name, but you can look it up, specifically said, we'll pay the girls less money so that they can ensure that all of the men got paid more. Like the men of American Hustle, just by the simple fact that they were men, ended up getting more points on the back end than the women did, even though the women were, Jennifer Lawrence, Academy Award winner, and Amy Adams, multiple Academy Award nominee. And Jennifer Lawrence, actually, I want to bring it. I know that her quote is, she's not directly involved in this, but she said something really interesting. She said, when the Sony hack happened and I found out how much less I was being paid than the lucky people with dicks, I didn't get mad at Sony. I got mad at myself. I failed as a negotiator because I gave up early. I didn't want to seem difficult or spoiled. At the time, that seemed like a fine idea until I saw the payroll on the internet and realized that every man I was working with definitely didn't worry about being difficult or spoiled. And that's the thing, is that, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson probably is like, yeah, I have seen what, some of my male counterparts, specifically some of my white male counterparts, have been paid what they've been demanding. So I know exactly what to ask for. Scarlett Johansson, the precedent wasn't set before. It wasn't like Chris Evans had a Captain America movie come out during a pandemic and got to be like, hey, ScarJo, you might want to get on this because this pandemic really fucked everything up. But she is making a very clear case for anyone, especially any woman who comes after her for the next Captain Marvel movie, for the next anything that has anything to do with Disney. I guarantee you all of those women are looking at her situation and going, okay, how's this going to play out? Because that's going to affect their negotiations later down the line as well. That even if Disney doesn't ever work with Scarlett Johansson ever again, it doesn't matter. Every woman coming after her is paying very keen attention to this. Yes, 100% it's a double standard. And when you talk about, well, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the biggest superstar on the planet. We're not talking, yes, that is something that we could say is an inarguable truth. At the same time, we're not talking about perception. We're talking about legal contracts and what is, like Rob said, what is promised and what is due. I'm also curious about Emily Blunt's contract. Like, was she, granted, she is not the bigger star in the movie, but she is right alongside Dwayne Johnson's. I'm just curious, what her situation is in all of this. And if that's going to come out, later on, that she also was supposed to have a specific kind of deal that also was not renegotiated. A lot of these things that happen on the studio level or in general, it's all like hush hush under, via secret emails and secret phone calls until all of a sudden Variety gets their hands on it. And then everybody's like, shocked, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But this is the way the business has always been done. The reason why it makes me so upset, even though, I have nothing to do with Scarlett Johansson or this movie, it all trickles down. So I look at that and go, man, Scarlett Johansson is arguably the most famous, one of the most famous women actresses, one of the most famous actresses on the planet. And if she's going to get dicked over, then who's going to protect me? She's got the top lawyers in the industry. She's got the best agents and managers in the business. If they can't protect her from getting screwed over, how am I going to be protected when I'm doing my tiny little roles? I've experienced I've experienced a pay discrepancy based completely on the fact that I'm a woman, and it sucks. And that was for a stupid little one episode guest star. And I remember how shitty I felt about that. And that wasn't millions upon millions of dollars. But I know that for me in my position, I look at that and go, man, if they're going to screw her over, the rest of us, we're fucked. So I definitely look at this as a trickle down situation. And it's not surprising, but it just is very disheartening. And it just makes me go, of all the strides that we think that we're making, we're just still getting fucked.
It's look again,
and not well.
Yeah, and not well. And look again, I want to acknowledge one of the things we said right up front. There could be a million unknown little details to this, and as new information comes out, it changes our perception. But if you don't look at this situation and at least raise an eyebrow, then you're intentionally sticking your head in the sand. Like, if you don't look at this situation where Scarlett Johansson is saying, oh, they changed what they were going to do with my movie according to what we had contractually agreed upon, and they wouldn't negotiate with me to redo our compensation package. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they changed his movie, and they were more than happy to go and renegotiate his compensation package. And I guarantee you, because it's in the movie with him, I mean, I don't know for 100% fact, but I tell you what, I'm sure that Emily Blunt, because she's in that Rock movie, I'm sure she got her compensation package probably rearranged too, because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson probably got that covered.
We don't know. Look at what I just said about American Hustle. Yeah. I would say, I'm sure that that Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams got the same back end points deal that what's his
Christian
face
Bale,
Arrow. Yeah, that all of the men got. But that wasn't the case. And the only reason we know about it is because emails got leaked. So I'm wondering, what other deals has Disney done similar to The Rock's for other male stars that they haven't?
I need to point something out here, because I'm seeing some people, including Angel, saying something that you're totally missing the point. Somebody like Angel in the live chat is saying The Rock just made a better deal. No, that's ignorant. The Rock didn't make a better deal. Disney agreed to make a deal with him, and they refused to make a deal with Scarlett. That's the thing. To say that The Rock just made a better deal is completely being ignorant of the situation here. They both had deals. And then Disney changed the terms of the deal by releasing their movies on Disney Plus Premium Access. But for one actor, they said, oh yeah, that's messed up, so we're going to renegotiate your compensation package. But with the other actor, Scarlett Johansson, they said, no, we're not going to renegotiate your compensation package.
They didn't even answer the phone.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They didn't even engage. They didn't even engage in the conversation.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not like Scarlett Johansson's people went to them and said, hey, we want to renegotiate the terms and this is what we're asking for. And Disney came back and said, no, that doesn't work with us. And they weren't able to come to an agreement. They didn't even engage the conversation. It wasn't even something they were willing to entertain. That's the difference.
Yeah. And that's where it gets like, and so if you don't at least raise your eyebrow, like I said, raise the rock eyebrow to this a little bit, then you are just willfully sticking your head in the sand. Now, again, there's a lot of details we need to find out. We may find out a new piece of information tomorrow that changes our perception of the whole situation. But from the information we have in front of us, this is pretty effed up. This is pretty messed up. They had 2 movies that were supposed to be theatrical. You moved them onto Premium Plus, violating the contracts. So with one actor, you said, fair enough, we'll renegotiate your contract. And the other one said, no, we're not even going to answer her phone call. That's messed up on the surface. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this situation continues to evolve and change over the coming weeks. It's and it's getting dirtier and dirtier. And you know when somebody doesn't have a legal leg to stand on, when they start spewing out more and more dirty stuff, and Disney with their like, oh, Scarlett's just ignoring COVID and her thing is sad and this is just a publicity stunt. That's usually the good sign of somebody who knows they don't actually have a legal leg to stand on. So it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. Question is for you guys. What do you make of this development? Finding out that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got Disney to renegotiate and change his compensation package to reflect the fact that his movie was going on Disney Plus, and they wouldn't even answer Scarlett Johansson's phone call. How do you feel about that? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.